Hey people, on that last movie, A Miracle, Lucky Truth says, did they serve Sambuca with 3 flies? But the first time I drank Sambuca, I was in France, and they told us watch out for the Arabs. This is the time when we were renting French airspace to bomb them. And so they told us to watch out for them. And so this old Arab, turban on his head and big long curved sword in his belt and all, if you catch him in the street, they're going to try to cut your head off. But once you catch him inside the bar, all he wanted to do was buy me a shot and play foosball, because nobody over there could play foosball. He knew Americans could play foosball, and I wasn't even that good, but I beat him anyway. And Amanda Hunt says, these are cool, but I wish at the end you would read the whole thing. You translate and sum it up, because it gets convoluted and confusing after a while. And I know that's a fact. And mainly I'm trying to show that I'm not translating it, I'm reading what's on the page. This is ancient English poetry. And I really want to go back and read it all, but by the time I get, past 17, 20 minutes on this program, it starts seizing up real slow, and I kind of have to rush the end. I have a harder time editing it. But I definitely planned on reading this parable, and I'm fixing to do it right now. But I have to stop at every word and try to explain it because of the hundreds of years they've been forcing these interpretations over here. But if you run your cursor over this number here, you'll see that they really don't know what this word means. You see it means to be told, to be announced, to be reported at the end, or just a messenger, which is the same word as angel sometime. Acknowledge, confess. But lately I used to try to read all the markings, and lately I've just been reading the letters, ignoring every markings. I thought that would be a little easier, and I thought that that must be the way it was meant to be read, was just the letters, because you see a lot of these old Bibles that look like this, with just the consonants only. So there's a lot of them printed like this, so it must read like this. And then all the markings, the directional markings, tell you why it was written like this. This first line, it reads, and, Vav is and then I-G, ig, duly, D-U-L-Y. Ig duly, whatum, W-T-M, what him who like. And so ig is like unauthorized, unduly, igduly, what him like. It's about him stealing the baby's milk, And so what this is a title, talking about who it is. And all these names, none of them are names. They're all descriptions. And the reason it's written like this is because, and igduly, he's an English poet. It tells me, the pattern of the words tell me he's an Englishman. And then he throws these other words in here, a Latin ig instead of a unduly. And the reason for that is that lets me know that it's supposed to come back and read again with the markings, with the directional markings. And so when this is igduly one way, and then when you come back and read with this directional marking, it says you go backwards, and now it's y, and then backward, G-I-V. Why give? Who give? So I'm going to read this with just the letters. And this is something I plan to do on every movie I've done. And it's not easy. And I usually have to go back and read the whole chapter and sometimes more to figure out some of these words. And then I run into something, and that's what gets me, throws off and brings me somewhere else. So if I live long enough, I'll be able to go back through all my movies and finish them all up. But this is why I say this cannot be translated. This language was written, it cannot be translated. There's no way that you could translate the meaning of this 3 different words in another language without writing 2 lines, And so that's just the genius of the book, and it cannot be translated. You have to have English background. And then, if you had lived in Europe, when you travel through Europe, you get on a train in Europe, and you could hit every country for $7 back in the day, and you hear a different language everywhere. And that's the way these old English poets were, they knew phrases from all the languages. But on the top, this starts as in why like. Who like Ovi? Ovi, is your father is of your father. And so Ovi, that's where they're getting the father, but it means of he, of him. And so who like Ovi milk? Ben lover her in all suck 'em. And so when I read that, it makes me think that this is gerbil here, and the cow represents the heaven, the Milky Way, and gerbil lovey milk. So I find this art and study these pictures a little bit, and it helps to figure this out. And it really doesn't help. You got all these bonehead scholars trying to tell you that they would drink milk from a cow, which is not unseen. All my mother's kinfolk all have big dairy farms up north. But what this picture says is he's an astrologer and he's drinking the milk. And so ig dooley what him who like, why amid, who amid, standing amongst, who amid the brazier, miser, miser, a hoarder, hoarding all the tit. The miser greasem is what makes him happy, agrees with. And who amid the brazier, the miser agrees him. Whoso, and why so, whoso the fool, the moon to, who for, who affer to call his name is where that comes from. And usually that's what they'll say that means, and he called his name, to affirm to, And whoso, the fool, the moon to, who for, who yammer, and talking to the moon. And L, of them, the sim of, this is the same word for the name. You usually see the for and called his name, and to affirm of. And who yammer of them, the sim of, similar of, the names come from the similars of the allies. The allies are in the heavens. And the ally in be in holy succum, in the holy succum, in the milk from above. Whosum of, whosum of, all a come, allegiance to, all a come allegiance. And so I'm going to miss a lot of words in here, because the milk and the lactose and the like, they're all coming with this LK. And also Luck and Luke. Luke is the doctor. And so often I try to read these and I have to go back after I do it and I get on down. I see I missed something and I go back and repair them. So yeah, it takes a while to make these up often. But I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to read it the way I see it. And maybe at the end I'll come back and point out some things that I think I might have want to change. And just while trimming this clip, I see that I missed something here. But this is, and ig dooley, what muy, M-U-Y, that's your Spanish for much like, muy like. And it's the word they give day backwards, Y-U-M. And so most of the time, when it's written like that, it has a tack and it reads backwards and forwards. And so it's muy, much of them. And so ig dooley, what muy like, what much like, who amid the brazier, miser greasem, to hoard what's in the brazier, makes me happy, agrees with me. Whoso fool to who affir, and said, of them similar of, ally, the same as in the heavens, in the holy succum, who sim of, ally come a liam. Liam is your mark, and your mark of allegiance to a liam. And then you see these two words here, they have the same number, and usually they say this is very went forth, when they double words up like this. Moody moot is very dead. And eluce, E-L-U-C. That K sometimes pronounced as a C. and Elus like to. Lucy was the god that turned the sun. The Elusilica, the light liquor. Lus is also the ancient base word for white, the white liquor. Elusilica, the white liquor, the milk. The oxum of mausoleum, milk. And Yammer, an extra W, and said, wills it, from Luke, Luke. You see, it's two different Bibles, and it was changed up. Here it's the milk, the holy new, the milk, holy new. And it's from the loosely new. And so this tree's to anoint over them, the oxum of the mausoleum, the oxum mausoleum, the trees to anoint over them. The mausoleum is a building, especially a large and stately one, housing a tomb or tombs, usually an open building. And so this is the oxum mausoleum. You see them all underneath ox, the oxum of mausoleum, the milk. And so everything about this is pointing at that picture. And so this in Yammer, it's actually Y, meaning who, and Homer. Homer means the command. Who the command wills it, and whatever she says. From Lucelina. Why mural them has it. They got a big old mural painted on the wall. Each. The H is the CH. And it's the each delight. Each delight at, and then backwards and forwards. That's where your word Disney come from. And each delight attends, ATINS, attends design. SNI is the sign. Put a D in front of there, and it's the design. And that's what Disney does. They try to design the kid's mind. As the Rivi, backwards and forwards, RIVI, as Rivi Icubid to, a liam, a mark of, allegiance of vansom, VANSIM, to vance, to move ahead, the vansom. Not just the men, but the men that were in front are moving ahead. And so the design as the Rivi, that's a Hebrew word, to bind. And, Ichabod, that's also a Hebrew word. And it means to make cupboard, to store away. We'll settle new of all the mix oleo oxum, the OE gets an L between it. The oleo oxum, the oxum, the strong, and oleo, the strong oil, the mix of the oil, strong, the concentrate oxum, the mix of the concentrated oil that's milked out of the trees. Although it doesn't say trees near yet, it'll let you know. Why a mural them has it each delight, attends design, as Rivi Icubid, make cupboard, to Eliam, vance, the allegiance, to the mark advancem, will settle into of all mixoleoxum, the mix of the concentrated oil. And Yammer to the oxum of Tain, of Tain, what you're trying to get, what you're trying to extract, the Tain. And Yammer to the oxum of Tain. And the licit, backwards, the licit it. Attain, elicit it. The milky all in new. The milky all in new. So you see, it's poetry. And you see these words just doubling and tripling up, the LCI, the LCI. What to moralum attain, to acquire, attain, each delighted. And then backwards, amphetamine, backwards and forwards, amphetamine phi, amphetamine, that's where your word amphetamine come from. And the amphetamine phi, what you trust in, the phi what. And then backwards, it boont, this is where your word, the bounty, B-U-N-T, the bounty, my fruit is what you're extracting. Amphetamine phi, what it bounty, what it bountin of tie, what its fruit, its bount, its fruitin of tie. It hoove, there's an H after this T here, E-T-H-U-V-E. It hoove, behoove you, what you need. It hoove, what you want, what you need. It hoove, and elicity of new of all the mix oleoxum. Ruoxum, rue, to cook it up, to extract it. The rue is when you try and extract the spirit out of your onions and bell peppers, the rue. And ruoxum, ledge pond, the vines, they grow upon the ledge upon, and the ledge ponal sit, the sit at, the ledge ponal sit at is the vine come to you. And ruoxum, ledge ponal sit it. And that's how I brew my DMT. I mix it up in a big bowl and I just put it up on the window ledge and let the sun do its work. It's real easy. And ruoxum, ledge ponal siditum, a Lucy all anew, a loose from Lucy all anew. Lucy, L-U-C-Y, the light all anew. And what to moral them, not just said, but try to instruct them with some morals. Myrrh is high, is where your word moral come from. The high of them. What too high of them? Myrrh. The same word for the pyramids in Egypt. It means high. What to moral them. To raise their standards. A hedge pond. The vines that grow all up on your hedges too. Each delight at is where it. The terrace. Up on the terrace where the vines are growing. The terrace. Them shame-aleum. Not the mausoleum, but it's in the shame-aleum. Advances, moves ahead to elicity of new of all mix oleoxum. Not the trees, but what's being extracted and oxumed and strengthened, concentrated. And who a miracle, and said all the trees, who a miracle, the mix oleoxum, the mix of the concentrated oil, all death-sated. Sate, past tense, sated, to satisfy, the death to satisfy. And a miracle, the mix oleoxum, all death-sated, the A-E is turned into the E-S, D-T-H-E-S, death-sated, E-S-A-T-E-D, death-sated, ill-caped, L-K-A-T-E, L of, and Kate is to carry out, your instructions, the Kate, we talk about it, now it's time to Kate, to carry out. The milking, M-L-K-U-N, the milking, and with I, and I is ing, the milking of all and new. And who homer, and yammer, who command, and hatch. You see, it doesn't have the tack in front of it now. Here it was reading backwards and forwards. And here It's just reading straight through. H-A-E-A-T-H-D, hatched. And who command hatched to come out of its egg, all mixolioxum. A-M, conjugation of B. And in omit, not in the truth, but in coming out with the truth, in omit. And omit is also your word vomit, V-A-M-T. When you're omitting, when you do that DMT, if you got anything inside of you that isn't the truth, it's coming on out. You vomit. In omit, atom, mushroom, atom, milk, all a come, above, B-A-V, above, all a come above. You see, this is the over part here, and this is the come part here. And they purposely mistranslate every word in the Bible because they don't want anybody to read this. Who command hatched all the mixolioxum? Why Homer hatched all mixolioxum? In omit atom, the mushroom attal milk, the mushroom attal milk, all a come above, has a vixily, vom, V-A-M is German for from, has a vixily, to come on out, vix, a vixily, from, and nigh, N-Y-A, the not in, but not in, backwards, not in Texas, not in Texas, T-X-A-A-S, not in Texas, taxes to taking its cut, the taxes men deathesated, what a cull it is, and what a cull it is rare, Z, 11, this is, leavening is what makes the bread rise, the leaven, what the rise when getting high, not Lebanon, but getting high is the cedars. Cedars are huge trees. And so somebody got mad at me about 6 years ago, one of them Christians, and when I was just starting out reading this, I could see that it was all about drugs, everything about it, especially when you look at the German, it's all generic drug names, the whole book. And he got mad at me. He said I would rather believe in the King James fairy tale than read a book about drugs, and that's the problem. People are scared of the truth. They can't handle the truth. And so I'm sure a lot of y'all are getting this better than me. I've got no education. I wasn't dumb. I just didn't care for school. I started out in the first grade with A's, and it slowly went downhill after that. I just lost interest, and I quit. I joined the Navy. I went and traveled around the world, and everything I know, I've been self-taught. I went to the library, and I picked up books on things that I wanted to learn about. And so I'm probably mispronouncing much of this, and a lot of y'all are probably understanding this better than me, and that's my purpose, and hopefully y'all keep it up and help translate it, and so I can come back and read your work sometime and learn more about it. So I'd like to come back and put this all together one time and just read it, but my computer's starting to seize up now. And for everybody who thinks drugs are for dumb people, look up microdosing and see what's going on in Silicon Valley. All those people that make millions of dollars a year, yeah, they microdose. They go to work high. Not just any drugs, but mind-opening drugs, hallucinogenics. And what it all has to do with the astrology is the sim. It's the sim. It's the similarities. And in order to code this, everything is named, is simmed with the stars above to what's on Earth. So you have to learn some astrology in order to understand what it's saying. Which plant, you have to look up to the stars to see which plant. The Indians in South America, when they asked them, how'd you learn how to make this ayahuasca? The plants told us. The plants told us what it was. And it was a miracle that the trees was talking to us. The trees said it. So my computer's starting to seize up. And it's not the program or anything. It's because I have about 1,000 tabs opened up top. Because I'm getting old and that's my memory up there. So I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.